The next seasonal banner is here, and this time it's a new theme. With Golden Week coming soon in Japan, it's a great time to sit back, relax, and a picnic is just what our hardworking heroes need. A season for picnics indeed. This fun time banner features Lukas, Genny, Flora, and Felicia. We'll be looking at their stats, any new weapons or skills, and discuss playstyle plus build options. Let's get started. First up is Lukas, everyone's favorite infantryman with the stat line of an army unit. Well, now Lukas is rightfully a lance army unit, and boy is he still tanky. Lukas has 51 HP, 37 attack, 21 speed, 42 defense, and 22 resistance. So I guess Lukas got mad when he finally lost the highest defense for an infantry unit title to Mordecai and went and got himself the highest defense in the entire game title. He also has a defense super boon, so that's a whopping 46 defense before anything else. Unsurprisingly, Armored Lukas is basically just regular Lukas with extra stat points. Good HP, good attack, amazing defense, balanced out by low speed and resistance. Although for the Berkut's Lance fans out there, his res is definitely workable. Lukas has some pretty basic ult skills in his kit. Pivot will allow him to move in front of his teammates, and Worry Fighter prevents him from taking follow-up attacks, but also disables his own. Lukas's new weapon is the LUNCHEON Lance Plus, which is an amazing name. This inheritable lance has 14 might, and when an enemy attacks Lukas first, he gains plus 4 attack and defense during combat. Lance units have the reprisal lance from Sumiya, which grants plus 6 attack when attacked, and the recent Vanguard lance from Thea, which grants plus 7 defense when attacked. The LUNCHEON Lance is a nice middle ground and a great enemy phase weapon for physical tanks such as Lukas. If you refine it for the extra plus 2 attack, it literally becomes a better version of Shiro's Bright Naginata, since you get the plus 5 HP too. At least that probably means Shiro will get a decent refine eventually. In terms of seasonal weapons, the LUNCHEON Lance is actually very good in my opinion. Now for Lukas's new A skill, he has AR-O, attack and defense 3. The AR stands for Aether Raids, and the O stands for offense because this skill only works in Aether Raids when you are attacking. It simply grants extra attack and defense based on the number of defense structures still standing on the enemy side. If there is less than or equal to 2 structures, Lukas gets a ludicrous plus 10 attack and defense. This is an in-combat buff as well. 3 structures, he'll get a still great plus 7 attack and defense. 4 structures is a respectable plus 4 attack and defense, and if all 5 structures are still alive, he only gets plus 1. Essentially, with this skill, it grants some insane stat boost, but you need to destroy enemy structures to get the maximum effect. Because you fight a different opponent every battle, sometimes it'll be easy to destroy 3 structures, while other times you may not even get 1. Not the most consistent skill, but it does have a very high payoff. These skills don't do anything outside of Aether Raids either, so you need to give Lukas something else if you want to use him in other modes. For builds, Lukas wants to focus on stacking attack and defense, and he'll be a strong physical damage wall. With armor skills, Lukas can be a crazy defensive unit. For the LUNCHEON Lance, plus attack or plus defense refines will probably be the best. His base kit is a little awkward since you can't use the Aether Raid skill in other modes. Worry Fighter is okay too, but if you want Lukas to dish out some damage, then give him Steady Breath, Quick Riposte, or Vengeful Fighter, and that's gonna be what you want. Attack and Defense Bond is a great skill for the A slot or Sacred Seal slot, and of course he wants Bonfire or Ignis. As long as he gets more attack and defense, Lukas will be just fine. To take advantage of Lukas's great attack stat, he can also go the Bold Fighter route. With a player phase focus, the LUNCHEON Lance isn't the best option, and instead using a Slaying Lance or the Harmonic Lance should be a lot of fun. Steady Breath with Quick Riposte is nice for some enemy phase power, but for pure player phase damage, you want Death Blow or Sturdy Blow. Armor March or Armor Boots is great for getting to attack positions, but Lukas can get those buffs from allies. Overall, Lukas is your typical slow armor unit with high attack and defense. I don't really think the Aether Raid's offense skill is good on armor units, but may have a place on someone else. He should be fine, especially if he has some of the more premium skills to inherit. Genny is our next picnic hero, and she's still a healer. This time she's on a horse, so she'll have a ton of mobility to support her team. Genny has 35 HP, 36 attack, 24 speed, 14 defense, and 34 resistance. You'll see a pattern in this banner in terms of stats. Like Lukas, Genny resembles her original infantry form with good attack and resistance, but really low HP, speed, and defense. She will legitimately kill over if she gets touched by any physical damage. She'll get some good single attacks off, but she doesn't hold a candle over faster Cavalier healers like Brave Veronica. For ult skills, Genny has Physic Plus and Wrathful Staff, which her original form also has. Her special is Fire Flood Bomb Plus, which grants a global plus 6 attack and res buff to all allies when it activates. Genny's amazing new looking staff is the Toasty Skewer Plus. It's an inheritable staff with a good 12 might, and when foes initiate combat against an ally within 2 spaces of Genny, this weapon grants plus 3 defense and resistance to the defending ally. Another staff great for backline healers, it's basically a ward buff as long as Genny is within range. It'll be great for stacking with other supportive skills. For Genny's C skill, she has defense opening 3. At the start of the turn, grants +6 defense to the ally with the highest defense, excluding Genny. As a reminder, if 2 allies tie for highest defense, this skill gives both of them the buff. With a global range, Genny will buff that ally from anywhere on the map, and it pairs nicely with the Toasty Skewer since these buffs will stack. For builds, Genny is pretty set if you aren't looking for high investment. Toasty Skewer can be refined with Dazzling Staff, and you can pair with any field buffs of your choosing. Defense opening with Drive Res can be a nice defensive setup. Fortify, Tactic, and Spurs are also all viable. It just depends on what you need. For A skills, the simplest option is attack +3 to make sure Genny's single attacks do as much damage as possible. With a really low speed stat, I don't think it's worth investing in, but you can try to salvage it with something like attack and speed push. Overall, Genny is going to want to stay safe, and her base kit allows her to do just that. She can provide some extra defenses for the team while healing up anyone's wounds afterwards. Our third unit is Flora, who is coming as our first red dagger armor unit. She has 43 HP, 38 attack, 22 speed, 29 defense, and 38 resistance. Similar to her original form, Flora has an incredible attack stat, tying with Halloween Kagero for highest attack for all dagger units. 38 res is the highest for all daggers, plus Flora only has 1 defense less than our free dagger armor unit, Winter Cecilia. With her low speed, Flora is going to take multiple hits, but she has some ways to reduce damage that we'll talk about shortly. For old skills, Flora is pretty set. Iceberg is great for her high base resistance, and with Bold Fighter, she can proc it in 1 round of combat. Bold Fighter plus high base attack means Flora is going to do a lot of damage, and Armor March will then make it easier to start fights with the extra movement. Flora gets her own unique weapon called Serimnir, that's my best guess. It grants a flat +3 attack, bringing Flora up to 55 attack with her weapon. That's pretty impressive for a dagger unit. It's also effective against beast units, I believe our first beast killer weapons. Its other effect is that at the start of combat, if Flora's res stat is greater than the foe's res stat, reduce the foe's attack and defense by 50% of the difference between res stats during combat. This calculation takes place before combat and has a maximum penalty of -8. To get the maximum debuff, Flora will need 16 more resistance than her opponent. As a reminder, this debuff is an in-combat debuff, and that can stack with a normal field debuff. For example, Flora's dagger has the usual -7 defense and res debuff. If she fights someone hit by that, the -7 defense stacks with whatever defense debuff she applies with Serimnir. A potential -8 defense on the enemy plus 2 hits from Bold Fighter and an Iceberg proc makes Flora super scary. Not to mention, the attack debuff can keep her alive despite being quite slow. Overall, it's a very interesting weapon. For Flora's new A skill, she has ARD, attack and res 3. This is similar to the new 8th raid skill Lukas has, however, this one only works on defense teams. It also grants extra attack and resistance based off of how many defense structures you have left standing, with all 5 granting that huge +10 attack and res bonus. So with this variant, you need to keep your defense structures alive, and at least this time you can control how you set up your own defense maps. Ideally, you're probably going to want to have your structures in the back row and they're hard to get, and you can even have Flora stand in front of them guarding them, forcing attackers to deal with her first. Important to note, this skill won't affect the res stat calculation that Serimnir has because it only applies during combat and the calculation takes place before combat starts. So no, Flora isn't going to get a huge +7 or +10 extra res to work with. For builds, as we mentioned, Flora is pretty much good to go. Bold Fighter, Armor March, and a weapon that can debuff the enemy's defense is amazing. That 8th raid's defense skill can be insane too, since that would put Flora at 48 base attack and 48 resistance, but if you want something else, attack and res solo or Bond are nice substitutes. Also, Fortress Defense and Res 3 can be incredible, since I would definitely sacrifice to attack for the giant +6 flat resistance gained. If you can reach the maximum -8 attack and defense penalty, Flora gets so much tankier and she does so much more damage. If possible, try to stack visible field buffs like Attack Smoke or Defense Ploy with Serimnir's in-combat debuffs when you can. I do think it's a very powerful weapon when you can get the full effect. Now, because Flora has okayish defense with great resistance, she can definitely try to run close counter. Serimnir makes a huge difference here because the attack and defense debuff on the enemy is so good. You pretty much want close counter with Vengeful Fighter and try to increase Flora's res stat so she can get a larger debuff. Since we aren't focusing on attacking as much, Odd Resistance Wave can replace Armor March for the self-res buff. I would even consider using Fortress Res as a seal just for the flat +5 extra resistance. I really think Serimnir is a strong weapon, you just have to make sure it activates. If Flora can stack her in-combat debuffs with an ally's chill attack, she can absolutely neuter the enemy's strongest attacker. I think Flora will be best buds with Aversa, since panic stats stack with visible debuffs which stack with in-combat debuffs. It's all very wild. Last but not least is Felicia, who is an Axe army unit this time. Felicia has 43 HP, 30 attack, 37 speed, 30 defense, and 35 resistance. Good speed and resistance, plus this time Felicia has some physical bulk too. Her stats may seem a little odd for a melee army unit, but she can make good things happen thanks to her great starting speed, which easily makes her the fastest Axe army unit. Besides her new weapon, Felicia has some great old skills. Glaciers will be nice with her good res stat, and she can proc it in one round potentially, thanks to Special Fighter, a very powerful skill that gives Felicia faster specials on both phases, plus denies the enemy from charging their own specials. With speed and defense bond, Felicia does like both of those stats, so it's a nice skill to have. With close guard, she'll lend some support to allies who get into fights with any melee enemies. Felicia's unique weapon is called Eldrimner, again my best guess, and appears to be a pot filled with some horrendous purple liquid. It's a sister weapon to Flora's Hrimnir with a few differences. Felicia gets plus 3 speed for a nice total of 40 speed. It keeps its beast effectiveness and has the same res comparison effect. However, instead of reducing attack and defense like Flora, Felicia will reduce attack and speed on the enemy. Speed debuffs can be absolutely devastating for certain units, and Felicia loves this effect because she has Special Fighter. The more times she gets to attack means more special procs, and if she hits you with Glacies, that's a ton of extra damage. Flora may get more damage with the defense debuffs, but Felicia can prevent damage taken by stopping fast units in their tracks. Again, the attack debuffs work amazingly here as well. While Flora may be a bit more susceptible to enemy initiations because she is much slower, Felicia is going to be much more annoying to take down with her high speed plus Special Fighter. Since we already talked about Flora, we already know the game plan for Felicia. Try to have enough resistance to activate Eldrimner to get those sweet attack and speed in combat debuffs. Felicia will be activating Glacies every fight if she can double and take one counterattack from the enemy. There is a little toss up here about whether we go for more speed or we go for more resistance. More res helps get a bigger debuff from Eldrimner, which in turn also turns the speed battle in Felicia's favor. I think speed and defense bond is okay, but if Felicia moves forward to attack, she won't get a boost. Fury 3 or 4 may actually be a great skill because Felicia wants all those stat increases, and if she needs to heal up, she can go with Aether. That being said, Glacies can proc in one round while Aether almost certainly will not. Felicia has a lot of options, but generally she'll want some extra attack and defense anywhere she can get it. While it's incredibly nice to have a lot of speed, you can go overboard. Remember, she'll have 40 speed with her weapon already, so there's not a lot of pressure to add too much more. Much like a good cook who tastes their food before serving, you may want to play around with different levels of speed to make sure you're not wasting too much. Mirroring her sister, I do think Felicia can run Distant Counter, which is nasty when paired with a Special Fighter. This is basically how Valentine's Ike and Amelia run this same build. They both rely on high speed to get follow-ups. While they may not be the tankiest army units, unless you have guaranteed follow-ups, you need a lot of speed to double them, plus Special Fighter is stopping special charges. For Felicia, she may not have as high as a defense stat as Amelia or Brave Ephraim. Her res stat is way more respectable, plus she has built-in attack debuffs on her weapon. She can even use defense ploy for more damage or res ploy to try and get more debuffs. Again, I think Flora and Felicia have some great weapons, just be sure to get them res buffs for maximum effectiveness. When fighting against them, if you try to use super low res units, you may find that the two sisters are much tougher to take down than they look. Thanks for watching, and let me know your thoughts on this new fun picnic banner. If you don't plan on summoning, then you can look forward to the next Tempest Trials where you can get yourself Picnic Leo. That will be coming in a couple days, and after that we have the next legendary banner plus the new game mode. Lots of things should be happening once Golden Week kicks off, so good luck on your summons, and I'll see you guys in the next video.